Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Moms Making Money Show. I'm super excited today to introduce you guys to a friend of mine, Kimberley Wiggins. She is, and I love her title, she's an escapepreneur coach. So basically, she's all about escaping that corporate 9 to 5. And to be quite honest, I think it should still be called 8 to 5 because I don't know anybody who starts work at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I'm taking control of that, and everything's going back to 8 to 5 for me. But I'm actually going to turn it over to her in just one second. I just want to remind you, as always, feel free to ask any questions that you have along the way. If anything pops up, we'd love to hear your comments. Show Kimberley some love if you're catching this live. If you're catching the replay, go ahead and type in replay. And also, if you're catching this on the podcast, you will also be able to get to the free gift that Kimberley is offering to all of us at the end. So make sure you stay tuned. The link will be in the comments, and it will also be in the show notes for the podcast. So Kimberley, take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what made you decide that you were going to be an escapepreneur coach, business owner.
All right, Amie, wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I love what you're doing in your space and in your group. I'm happy to be here. And so why I became an escapepreneur coach. It's a funny thing. It's actually a story where I worked in corporate America for just so long. And I call myself a corporate girl. So I actually love corporate America. I love the excitement of business and just achieving things in accomplishing things, getting projects done. You know, my role was a project manager in corporate, and I absolutely love it. Mm-hmm. But I had worked for this job. I'd been there for this company for about 3 years. And they brought someone down from the customer service department who had just gotten her bachelor's degree. And at the time, I had a bachelor's and a master's. Right. And this person was coming down from the customer service department, and I was training them on how to do my job. And they were going to end up being my manager. Oh my gosh, was I livid or what? And I did not understand the psychology behind that. I went to my manager. I tried to figure that out. It wasn't a choice of his, he said. It was something mandated by the company. Apparently, this person had been in customer service for like 10 years or something. And they wanted to be able to reward her for getting her bachelor's degree. And that was the premise behind it. And so I knew then I had to leave. Now, a normal reaction would have been to be very, very angry and refuse to help and probably find another job. But when I went home and I was thinking about this, and I didn't make any drastic changes, Amie, I thought about it for about a week. I believe that God spoke to me in that moment. And now I did not hear a big booming voice. I did not hear this big booming voice. But what I heard over time was, over that week, the more I thought about it, I kept hearing, just stay where you are, be still, make a plan. Because it was my time to finally start the business that I wanted to start. And I never had the kahunas to start it, because it was like, right. Oh my gosh, you know that feeling you get when you're in a great job and you think, oh, this is great. I want to start a business, but I don't want to leave this job, and I'll start it later. Mm-hmm. Well, that feeling started to go away, and it was like, now is the time. It's like I finally got the go ahead. And so because I got the go ahead to do that, I just started planning. And when I am telling you, Amie, that I really planned this thing out, I would sit down after work and I planned out the financial portion of it. I planned out the time portion of it. I estimated how long it would take me to leave my job and fully have my business started. I started doing all the research for the resources and who's in that space and who am I following in that space and just everything. I mean, there were parts of it that I didn't have answers for. And, I felt as though, all right, I would be a good coach because I've been doing project management forever. So I've been, really organized, coaching other people and mentoring them in their job roles. So I felt like, I think I would be a good coach. But when you decide that, you don't ever really, I think, kind of know for sure.
Oh, for sure.
No. So you have to just do the research. And a lot of it in the beginning was trial and error. But I tell you what, I had given myself a full 1-year plan. And in that, of course, like I said, I had included all the financials. I had saved money for my, I had a 4-month fund saved to take me 4 months outside of employment. And, I just felt I was really ready. So in 9 months, I was able to leave that and to put in my notice and be ready to leave. Now, was I making a ton of money in coaching? No, I wasn't. I had to do some other things. I took a part-time job teaching. I had to do some other things, but I had developed a plan that would work for me to leave. It would cover all my expenses. And here's the beautiful thing, Amie. And I probably don't have to tell you this because I know your story. But when we are sitting in these corporate jobs and we're making all this money, we spend a lot of money on crap we don't need. And we spend, our budget is so heavily inflated. So I was able to really crunch my budget down. No longer was I having $2 cups of coffee every day, or, I was making coffee at home. I was crunching it down really, really small. And I really got my budget down, Amie, believe it or not. Now, in this job that I was working, I was making 6 figures. But when I got my budget down, I could live off of less than $35,000 a year.
Wow.
Yes. I was totally amazed. So I was able to do really well that year. I was saving and paying off my bills, and I was able to pay off all my bills with the exception of my house. And I was able to save my 4 months of money, and I was able to leave. But it was with careful planning. And the more I prepared to leave, it was almost like my eyes were opened to what happens when you have a job. And if you will allow me to just talk a little bit about that, Amie.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so this is what I began to discover, is that when you're in a job situation, one, you're not working for yourself. So whatever the contribution is, you're not doing it to really benefit your family. Sure, you're getting paid for it, but the bigger picture of it is that you are contributing to someone else's dream. You're not living your dream. The second thing I realized was that they had been controlling different aspects of my life for 3 years. They told me where I could live because they were only going to pay me so much money. So they would only allow me to afford what I could afford. They were telling me where to live, what to drive, what kind of clothes to wear, where to send my kids to school, just what time to wake up, because I had to be there at a certain time, what time to go to bed if I wanted to function the next day. I even had a scheduled time for lunch because we had a meeting at 1 o'clock, so I had taken lunch at 12.
Yep. So
they were telling me everything, just about everything they controlled my life. And I began to see all these things. The biggest eye-opener for me was looking around my office and just seeing the other brilliant people that work there, men and women. But I love empowering women. And so when I looked at the other brilliant women, and there were tons of brilliant women that worked there, I could see how the job was sucking the life right out of them. I could see it. It was almost like they were walking around with their eyes shut. And, you know, I knew one woman in particular there. She was so smart and she was so funny. But her and her boss didn't get along. And because her and her boss didn't get along, every time she came up with an idea, her boss shot it down. And I felt so bad for her because she was so smart. She really came up with some really great ideas. But because the boss didn't like her, it wasn't that it wasn't going to benefit the company. He simply did not like her. And because he did not like her, he shot it down every time. And so it was truly amazing. I mean, I felt so bad for her. And I remember when I was leaving, and I remember her telling me when I was leaving, she said, I feel like, she said, I'm so happy for you because I feel like you got out. She made it sound like I was in prison.
A lot of people feel that way, though. Like so many men and women both, you know, it's part of that employee mentality. And I remember speaking with a coach before who, you know, her thing was like, you don't have to struggle, right? Like, but we are so programmed to that whole saying of the struggle is real and we just accept it. But why do we have to, why should we accept that? Right? Like, you know, like, and like you said, like a lot of times people don't think about all the different areas where their job, whether they have a great employer or a crappy employer, because I'm sure we've all had both, right? At least for sure we've all had the latter, but they control when you go on vacation. They control whether you get to stay home with your kids when they're sick. They can, you know what I mean? And there's almost like that fear that is instilled in you from, you know, from society and growing and, you know, even probably from a young age. Like, you know, you've probably heard, you know, if you had both working parents or even a working dad, like I can't ask for the day off to do da 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 because, you know, this reason or that reason. And it gets instilled in us as a society, I think. So yeah, you're absolutely right that, you know, and none of us think about all the different things that it actually has like a control on our life over, you know, including our bedtime and where we can live, you know, like, yeah, you could live in a variety of neighborhoods, but you still have to be in, you know, commutable proximity to your workplace. And that there again, like you said, it determines where your children go to school and where you live and how that all goes together.
Yes. And, you know, Amie, my dream when I was in corporate, and I did have this dream, I really thought I was going to be this really big corporate executive. I was going to break the glass ceiling. I was going to do all of that. I really thought that. But what I found is that living my dream, having more time and money freedom, being able to do everything, all of this on my terms, that is the true glass ceiling. That is truly breaking the glass ceiling for me. That is being able to set my own hours, being able to set my own income. That is truly the breaking of the glass ceiling.
Yeah, and not having to ask permission for it.
No. And you know what? You know, I was just having a conversation with someone recently, Amie, about how I think we as women, and just as you mentioned a minute ago, just how we were programmed from just little girls as women, we were programmed to have to ask permission. And it's almost as though we are, okay, just let me say this here, and I love saying this. We are the baddest creatures on the planet, without a doubt. We are the smartest. We are the most accomplished. We can do 10 things at one time. Amie, you know that as a mother, you're never doing, when are you ever doing one thing?
Right now, that's it.
Okay, so we are so good at what we do. We can do some amazing things. We can come up with amazing creative ideas. We are the baddest creatures on the planet. But because society has nurtured us in a way that keeps us from expressing that. We discount ourselves as not being good enough or not having enough or not being confident enough to do whatever we need to do. And that has brought me to this place where I am an escapepreneur coach. I really want to help women get out of their own way and have an out-of-body experience, if you will, and just be that other person, that alter ego that you have. Like, they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, dress up and be in Vegas every day in your life, just be that other person that you really want to be. And a lot of times I will tell my clients, all right, you're not there yet, but we can fake it until you make it. Just be that person who's watching. Nobody needs to give you permission to do that. And that's what my escapepreneur coaching is about. It's just being able to help women just be and live the life they really, truly want to live.
Yes, I love that. And it's so funny. Like, I want to kind of touch back just a little bit. We still have plenty of time. So when you talk about like how we're kind of, I don't know what the right word is, but like we're trained from a young age, and even historically, where women have been, and hopefully no men get on here and like throw stones at us or whatever, but this is the truth. So whatever, you go back decades and centuries and whatever. And, you think about like women who made a stand, they were like burned at the stake, like literally burned at the stake, or like beheaded or whatever. So it was kind of like, that historic, evolution of women in society, and even just how big of a deal it was when women were able to vote, like that took a really long time. And so some of that stuff, I mean, maybe it's programmed now in our DNA, who knows, right? That, we're afraid to stand up and stand out and be our truest self and, say it louder and, just stand up for what we actually believe in, because, we're worried that, well, Sally's not going to like it and this guy's not going to like it. And my boss might fire me if he knows that I've got, a Beachbody business or something on the side, or I, help promote essential oils or whatever. And really it's kind of like, that's none of their business, first of all, and who cares, second of all. But, even like other women sometimes, like who don't get it, who maybe don't have that entrepreneurial spark. Maybe they're kind of, they just don't have the desire, or maybe they're just so set in what they've been taught their whole life as the norm that they're just going to kind of stay in their lane and stick with that. But even sometimes they're like, I think women are the worst mom shamers out there, some of them. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like, I'm going to give you like a virtual bitch slap in just a second. And like, what's your problem? You know what I mean? So it is a society thing overall. Like there's so many things in society that we need to change and correct and evolve into something better. But yeah, just that's one of them. And even though, like you said, you thought you were going to break through that glass ceiling, you may have even felt that for a while you were chipping away at it, and it still just never happened.
Yes. Absolutely, Amie. And everything you just said is so true. And it's almost like a awakening as a woman.
Yeah.
When you learn the opposite of all that, because we have been so conditioned. And, even Amie, when I think back to even my mom, and my mom was really the breadwinner in my family, because my dad was there, but he was sick. He had severe arthritis. So my mom was like the breadwinner in the family. And so my mom had this really strong matriarchal role. And so she was and always will be my greatest role model. But with all of that, and my mom was very wise. She's by far the wisest woman I've ever known. My mom was very wise. She was very straightforward, very outspoken and truthful, and just, she walked it and she talked it and she lived it. And even with all of that, when I grew up, because there were 10 of us and I am the 10th child, I still suppressed my voice. It took me a while to really build up the confidence. Because, I grew up in this little country farm in South Carolina. It took me forever to build up the confidence to really just be me and let me shine. And that it took me forever to learn that when I was a little bitty baby, not even born yet, that God had snuck up on me and put this gift inside of me. And that one day I would be able to unfold this gift to the world. And the world will know that little Kimberley Wiggins from Pineville, South Carolina was here on this planet, ready to do some amazing things.
Yeah. And now you've got a podcast so you can shout it from the rooftops too.
Yes. And I think every woman needs to recognize that they are a gift giver, that there's a gift inside of them. And if they can't figure out what that gift is, like you said, even if they don't want to have their own business, because it's not meant for everybody.
No.
But there is a gift that you can still give the world in your corporate job. And there are things you can do in your corporate job to make your life better so that you can better support your family in the way that you need to and have more time and money freedom.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and it's not for everybody. It's certainly not, because, even a lot of people sometimes probably think like, oh, it's so easy to have like a home-based business and you can wear your yoga pants all day. It's not easy. It's hard. Like, it's hard work still. There's still a lot of effort going out there, just as much so as if you were, opening the doors to, a brick and mortar type of business. You still have to do the work. You still have to turn on the lights and let people know you're open for business. It's just in a slightly different format. So while some people find ease and flow in having a business, it doesn't mean that it's easy or simple or.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I know. I was in a forum once and I heard some women talking about they were just about ready to give up this business thing. And they had talked about they had quit their jobs actually and decided to do business full time, which I'm never a big advocate for. I always tell my escapepreneur clients, let's have a solid plan, keep the job. The job is your seed money, because you will need some money to run this. And yes, and you do have a budget, and you were living before, you got to continue to live. So don't quit the job. But the underlying message in that forum was, I thought this was going to be easier. And I hate to be able to say it on your show, Amie, but it's not.
No, that's the truth. This is all about getting the truth out there. It's not. I don't care if you're MLM or an independent coach or a life coach or whatever.
Yes.
Whatever you're doing, it's not a get rich quick scheme, and you still have to do the work. Like, you still have to put in the time and the hours, and eventually, granted, you probably get that passive income thing built up, but you don't just wake up one morning, I'm going to quit my job, and all of a sudden I'm going to have a bunch of passive income. Yes, you get to decide to, go down that path, but there's still there's that back office area, that back end of your business that nobody sees. So when you jump right in and you're like, oh, well, Kimberley does it and she's so successful, all the stuff that you're doing behind the scenes and all of the creations and all of the emails that you're sending out, and even all the emails that you don't send out, that you're like, I'm not going to send this one today, I'm going to save it for later or whatever. Like, all of the time that you spend making slides, all the time that you spend creating courses, all the time that you spend on the phone with your one-on-one clients, and all that stuff, nobody sees how much time that actually takes. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to spend that time. Yes. But it is time, it is effort, and you really got to love it. So you got to make sure, because otherwise you're just giving yourself another job, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Amie. And I love it. I love all of it. But my friends, I'm single, so any dates that I have or boyfriends or whatever, they never understand that. They never understand what I'm doing. They never understand when I say, I am working, and they're saying, it's 8 o'clock at night. So I've got something I need to get out tomorrow. So I decide my own schedule, and I may have done other things during the day and decided to work from 6 to 8 at night. But they never understand that. They never, your friends never understand it. They never understand that this is a real business. And until you decide to hire someone to help you, or even when you do hire someone to help you, that you still have a lot of stuff that you need to get done for yourself.
Yeah.
And, it's a real business, and it takes time.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I think, that, like I said, people don't see the back end stuff, and, and people who are so stuck in, like I call it, the employee mentality, that this is the way it is. You go get a job. Well, you go to college, then you get a job, and you pay student loans for the rest of your life and whatever. And you just go punch the clock, whatever. That's the norm. Like, that's part of like that whole, the struggle is real, because that's real life for everybody. It's the American dream, whatever you want to call it. So they don't understand it. So they don't take it seriously. They're like, oh, Kimberly, she's sitting over here in her yoga pants, diddling around on Facebook or something, or talking to one of her girlfriends on the phone, like not realizing like that client of yours might have just paid you $1,000 or something, and that you're actually getting probably much better compensation than you even were at your other job, right? So they don't get it. It's not something that even resonates in most people's mindset. I am happy to see, though, I feel like we're on like the beginning wave of like a revolution. You know what I mean? Especially like for women who want to do something else, want to be something more, whether, they want to go from being a stay-at-home mom and they want more, they want to, maybe their kids are going to school. So they've got that 6 hours a day, and not to say that they don't have things that they need to do or whatever, right? But they want to do more than fold laundry all day. They want to do more than pick up toys. They want to do more than scrub toilets. Like, they want to make an impact. And I feel like, now that we have the internet and all this this technological revolution, that we're kind of like paralleling that revolution with our businesses. And I think women, I read an article, maybe it was in Forbes, something about how like women are starting to take this internet entrepreneurship thing by like the horns and like really have so much success with it. And so that's kind of what I mean by, being on like the beginning wave of a revolution, but we're like setting the tone for the young people behind us, the millennials, and then whatever comes after millennials, I don't even know. We all have those. I'm sticking with being Generation X. So I can't quite be a millennial, I don't think, at my age. But it's like we've been conditioned by, like our parents as we were growing up, and what society was doing at that time, and how the normal, 8 to 5 or, work really hard and, you'll just get by and that's okay, type of thing. And, even people who think that being wealthy is a bad thing, like, like think about how much good you could do and how much you could give back if you had more money to give, know? And so people don't tend to think about even that side of growing your wealth and growing your empire and all that stuff, of how much you can actually give back. And so people think like, oh, everybody who's wealthy, they're freaking Scrooge McDuck from, from the Disney cartoons, who's, a cranky old greedy guy, and that's just simply not the case. So there's so much conditioning that has, been given to us through society and family and whatever, and not intentionally, like that's given to us with the best intentions, I think, to go out there, work hard, do well, and blah, 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 blah. But no, they don't get it. They think they don't take it seriously. And then at one point when you're like, oh, I just had a 6-figure launch, then they're like, oh, so what is it that you're doing?
Yes, exactly. And so, you're so right. There's so much that we can do. And I know you have a big mommy group. And so I'm definitely here to bring the message that don't let someone guilt you into thinking that you should just be a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. We are multifaceted. There is a lot more to us than just being a mom. I mean, we are a mom, a wife. We are sisters. We are nieces. We are friends. We are business owners. We are volunteers. There are just so much we can be all at once. And don't let someone mommy guilt you into that, because you not only are you doing all these other things that you're doing for yourself, but you're doing them for your kids too. Because when your kids are able to look at you as a role model and stop trying to find the Oprahs of the world, just looking at their mom as a role model and being able to say, I was able to see my mom do this and this and this, and she gave back and she volunteered and she did this and this and this. It impacts their life in a way that society won't. So
we got a note here. It looks like from Keisha. Headed into a meeting now. I've enjoyed this and will watch the remainder later today. Here's to successful, progressive, and joyful Thursday. Yay! Thanks, Keisha. I think it's Keisha. If it's Kisha, I'm sorry.
That's my niece.
Yay! I'm so glad she popped on.
Yes. So it's just amazing what we as women can do today. So don't let anyone mommy guilt you into feeling like you can't do a whole lot more with your life, that you are just supposed to stay home and fold laundry. And that is not true. But if you enjoy it, there's nothing wrong with it.
Agree. And there are some people that I know who they just absolutely love being a mom, managing their house, and just taking care of all those things. And they have no desire to get on the phone with other women and help them through their struggles. They're like, no, that's just not for me. And so it's kind of, but for them to even be able to stand up and say, that's not for me. And, have somebody who's in like that entrepreneurial, it's still early. I've only had one cup of coffee. That entrepreneurial mindset, like they don't let them, to not be able to be guilted by them either, so it's got to be a balance. But I find a lot of times, like, I'm actually going to be doing like a live challenge next week about like different things about being more than just a mom. And, my message, and I know like yours too, is not to offend anybody who that's all they desire to be. It's to really be able to feel comfortable, and I cannot talk today, comfortable and confident in chasing those desires and making them become realities. So, for me, it's like, I think about like, I could fold all the laundry. I could scrub all the toilets. I could do all the things that people tell me I should be doing. Like, oh, you shouldn't be having this business. Because I own two businesses. I own an electrical company. It's 10 years old. And I am, it's almost 10 years old. It'll be 10 years old in February, and it's just a small little company, but it's a 10-year-old company almost. And then I also do my business coaching. And, I have people, like, sometimes they're family members, sometimes they're friends. And it's like the people that you think are going to be like your biggest cheerleaders. And they're like, no, you shouldn't be doing that. Don't you know your kids are only little once, and you should be doing this and you should be doing this. And I'm like, I do so much stuff with my kids all the time, like all the time. Half the time they're in here like pulling my hair and stuff. So I spend it's super funny because it's like I spend so much time with my kids now that I spend so I've kind of like switched it. Like I used to spend with Easton when I went back to work. I used to spend probably like during, Monday through Friday, probably about 12 hours a week with him, because I'd get home from work anywhere between 4 and say 5 or 6, depending on what I had going on. And I was often gone before he even woke up. So I didn't even see him most mornings. And then he'd go to bed at like, 8:30, 9 o'clock at the latest. So I had, 2 to 3 hours a week or a night with him during the week. So, but now it's like, okay, so now I've flipped that. I spend about 12 really like dedicated hours on my business, which doesn't include like answering little messages and emails and stuff here and there, but 12 kind of dedicated hours on my business. And I have that other, I don't know, what is it, like 60 something waking hours that we spend together. So for me, it's kind of like, well, I'm still contributing financially, because for me, I always just wanted to take care of myself and know that I could take care of myself. And maybe that's an ego thing. I don't know, probably, but it's okay. I'm fine with that. And I spend way more time with my kids now.
Yes. Amie, and I'm a huge advocate of a multi-level marketing business. I love multi-level marketing. So when I go to this conference for this multi-level marketing business, and I don't actively work the business, but the conference is so phenomenal that I still go to the conference.
They are great. I think every conference is great that the MLM companies put on.
They really are. And you learn a ton. You're truly inspired. And you know what? At this particular conference, they let the children talk. As the children have grown up in the multi-level marketing world, and they let the children come on stage and talk about what their parents have contributed to their lives. And they talk about all the times that their parents had to go to these meetings and leave them with a nanny or leave them with a sitter, or when they got older, leave them at home or not be at their school functions sometime because they had other things to do. But they appreciated it. They said, when we got older, we realized we were able to live like our friends couldn't live. We were able to go to Paris and Mexico and have all these amazing trips and do all these things that our friends couldn't do. And they were just really, really thankful that their parents had become a part of this MLM journey and exposed them to so much. They were like, we learned business at an early age. We learned how to communicate with people and how to be able to just talk to anyone, because our parents would bring us along sometimes when they would just meet people while we were shopping. And so it was amazing. And I think that, you are doing a great service for your children when you're doing these other things, when you are exposing them to these other things. And like you said, you may spend 12 hours working, but look at all the rest of the time during the week that you're able to spend with your kids. Yeah. You would never be time. Quality time, not with a job. You're tucking them in at night when you get home. That's about it.
Yeah. And it's a rush. It's like, okay, home, dinner, bath, bedtime stories, and then bed. Like that was it. And I think a lot, unless you're in that space, I think a lot of people can easily overlook that. But that's how it is for a lot of women. And a lot of women have, kind of mom guilt about having to leave their kids because, we all kind of want to be there and nurture them. But, it's like I have a girlfriend who her kids are finally getting a little bit older. They go to school and she's like, thinking ahead, like, dang, like before I know it, my kids are going to be moving out of the house. And, like that type, they're not quite that old, but, it's in the near future. I think she's got, one of her kids is going to be a teenager this year. So that means in a few years, he'll be off and out of the house and the other one's not far behind. But then it's kind of like, well, then what? Then there's not as much laundry. There's not as many dishes. There's not as big of a mess. There's not as many, mouths to feed and meals to make. And then what? Yeah. Oh, Jane says, my kids as they are now adults have great work ethics as I always have worked. When I did show up for events, they really appreciated it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a testimonial to how your kids view you. And like she said, they have great work ethics. And another thing, Amie, is that those great work ethics that your children develop translate into a business if they ever want a business. Because the same amazing things that you can do for a corporate job are the same amazing things you can do for your own business.
And even more because like that girl you were talking about who was at your job, who everything, I didn't necessarily experience this, but I can definitely see how that goes is every time you come up with this great idea and you're feeling really good about it and then you get shot down, it's kind of like, well, what kind of impact was she actually really able to make other than, crunching numbers or doing whatever it was that she did, right? And, now if she were to take those gifts and those great ideas and change into her own business, and then people would, would really benefit from those great ideas. And not to say that not that every great idea is actually great, because sometimes we think of things and we're like, maybe not. but yeah, like imagine all the things if she was in a slightly different setting or even a different company, the impact that she could make.
Yes, absolutely. So, I'm really, really passionate about this. I want to help women. I want to help you get back into the home, because I do believe that women especially are there to nurture their children. They need to spend time with their children, and they can do that at home with a business or with a job. There are ways that you can convince your job to let you work a few days from home or entirely from home and still produce the same level of work or more, just so that you will be able to spend those quality times with your children and not miss out on that.
Right. Agree. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Amie, it was great. I mean, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I mean, we could obviously sit here and go on and on and on about this all day long.
Yes.
But I do have businesses to run. I actually have to take my little sick guys to the doctor today. So.
Oh, no. It's always awful when they're sick, because you feel like you're helpless.
Yeah.
Because they're so pitiful.
They are. Yep. Well, awesome. I wanted to have you tell us a little bit. I've posted in the comments Kimberly's website because she has a free gift for us. So before we hop off and say our final goodbyes, tell us a little bit about where exactly to find that and a little bit about what it is.
You can find my free gift on kimwigginscoaching.com. And there's actually two free gifts there. There's one that's the Idea Analyzer. And that's for any woman who definitely are struggling with ideas about how to get started and what their business should be about. This walks you through a very good process of doing the market research to be able to generate a really solid idea. And then the second thing is I have the Ultimate Business Launch Guide up there. And that launch guide will really help walk you through the finer points of developing a strategy to exit your job. And so definitely so. And I do want to say, Amie, that I do have some exciting things coming up as well. And definitely we're going to collaborate on one of these things, I hope. And so I have a giveaway event that's coming up in September. I also have a podcast that I run weekly. And I also have a mastermind accountability group that I'm opening up in October.
Yay!
So I have quite a few things going on. Yes, absolutely.
Well, congratulations. That's so incredible. I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you. Well, you know what? I just love, and let me say this before I go, Amie, I just love the camaraderie of the women that I have met in business as entrepreneurs. I met Amie not long ago, and we have become quick friends. And Amie is so amazing, but so inspiring and encouraging. And there's no competition. No competition. No. We're just trying to lift each other up. And it's just amazing.
Yeah. It is. It's almost kind of like you're either in or you're out. So you're either like mom shaming somebody or you're like really on board with like, I'll have what she's having.
Yes. And that's nice. Yes, I'll have what she's having. I like that.
I didn't coin the phrase, I must say. Like, I think Meg Ryan still said it better, but everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say that. So
yes, and it fits this perfectly. It really is.
It does.
I think when women realize that they can get on board and come hang out with people like you and I, Amie, and just really live their dreams, I think they'll find that there's a big supportive community out here of women entrepreneurs who'd be happy to just help and share and help you along your journey, just so you can live your dreams.
Yeah, there's even, there's plenty of free groups out there. There's, just everything. And the neat thing about it is like you make so many friends along the way. And it's like, even like you can say, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and we were talking about like, even if maybe, you don't quite get the experience that you're expecting from, one investment or one, retreat or one mastermind or whatever it is, right? One course, like typically you still get something from that. Like, like you get lifelong friends, you get different kinds of lessons, you get, awakenings and different types of things that are so valuable, like even more valuable than what you thought you were originally going to sign up for the course for. Like you get so much out of it. And yeah, that's like one thing about being in a mastermind or being in a community where you get people who get you, because they become your biggest cheerleaders. They become that, not necessarily that coach in your corner, but they're standing there with your coach telling you, yeah, go, 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 go. You've got this. If you fall down, they're picking you up and brushing all the dirt off of you and giving you that, gentle, loving shove back into reality. Like, no, go do it. You've got this, because they want to see you succeed. And it's the craziest thing, because, you even think about like going back to like employee mentality when they're like telling you to train your replacement, and it's so even in MLM, and I think it really kind of started here with MLM. They train you to train your people to be better than you or as good as you, and give all the tricks, because you're not going to be worked out of the program. Like it's mutually beneficial for everybody. So that's why that's why that kind of training works. But nobody feels bad about it. Nobody's getting kicked out of their job or, overlooked or overstepped or whatever. And, it's just, I don't know, it's like a win-win for everybody, I think, in that aspect. Yes,
I agree. Yeah. Awesome. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, this was a great episode. I'm very excited. Like I said, I cannot talk today. I need more coffee. I'm going to need Starbucks or somebody to come and sponsor me and my coffee habit. So if you're listening, Starbucks, now.
Yeah, that's a good plug. Starbucks over here. She needs a sponsor. Yes. Very nice. Love it.
So yes, you'll probably be seeing more of Kimberly and some of the things that I have going on. And make sure you take full advantage of hopping over to her website, checking her out. If you are thinking about creating a strategy for, your own exit strategy, she's probably the right person to talk to so that you aren't feeling misguided in just jump, because that's scary. So definitely reach out to her, get your game plan in order, and get going.
Thank you so much for having me, Amie. It's always a pleasure seeing you, and it's always a pleasure helping you with whatever you do.
Oh, thank you so much. The pleasure's all mine. And again, we'll be seeing lots more of Kimberly, I'm sure. And be sure you check out her podcast. You'll even see hear an episode of mine on there.
Yes. I'll have to run that again soon.
Yeah, definitely. All right, lady. Well, I will talk to you guys later. And be sure, if you're hopping on after the fact, click replay. Let us know where you're watching from. And we'll be in touch. See you guys soon. Bye.